biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.
Good morning, Misfits. You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit Podcast. On today's episode, I have a new co-host, and we had a wild year traipsing the globe, doing all kinds of crazy things. So we're going to talk to you guys about kind of the decision-making process, how we adjusted throughout the year, what we learned, coach, athlete. Probably there's some life lessons, human lessons in there as well. So we'll dig into that in a minute. We'll start with housekeeping here. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gorilla Mind. You can head to gorillamind.com and use the code word Misfit or gorillamind.com/Misfit, and it will enter the code in for you. I would say the product of the week is still, based on all of the moving and getting everything set up, my handy dandy Gorilla Mind energy drink right here. Actually has a bunch of nootropics in it, and maybe on this podcast you'll be able to tell whether I do or don't have good word recall, but it's definitely been helpful for me, especially on long crazy programming days. And they are launching their new flavor, red gummy fish. I'm guessing it's supposed to taste like a Swedish fish tomorrow. And if you want to try that out, again, gorillamind.com. Use the code word Misfit. Something a little bit new here. We're actually having a few things that are new here on the podcast just to try to, kind of spice things up a little bit. Shout out of the week. And I think we have a really cool range of shout outs this week. So I'll go first. I believe today, correct me if I'm wrong, Paige, is the kind of the first official day for McKenna as someone who made a serious life change in the name of kind of going all in on something. So McKenna, for those who don't know, is my remote client, two-time semifinals athlete, was definitely in the running to make a real push last year, and then less than a week out from the Open, snapped her ankle coming down from the rope. Brutal. But if they made a remote client in a lab and delivered them to me, it's McKenna. Just hardworking, humble, but has some of that fire that you need to kind of get into things. So just a really solid communicator and someone that I really enjoy working with. And for her to go from a full-time job to only working a couple days a week and really put her eggs into this basket I just love that shit.
Yeah.
It's just and she is, to make it clear, her goals are to compete at the CrossFit Games one day. But the barrier to entry for me to be all in is more about who she is and the way that she trains and the way that she communicates, the way that she treats people, the way that she just is as a human being. So big shout out to her for making that jump, making that leap, because so many people, want to do something like that, whether it's at the forefront or buried in their subconscious. And you just think, there's this life path that you're supposed to have, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And maybe secondary shout out to Wyatt for being the kind of partner who really supports that thing, which is just also the coolest thing ever. So
yeah,
shout out to both of them for
It's
sure.
hard to find in a partner for sure.
Yeah.
I think I have the firsthand experience getting to be with McKenna at home for a couple of years, and she's gotten to watch and see what it takes. Having watched me go to the games a couple times and training with me. So that's, for me, it's a special thing to see her, make this commitment to go full time. And her and I, we have a lot of conversations about the fact that not many people are going to understand your choice to do this. And it's a very, it's not a traditional route anymore. And I think that's just a reminder we need to keep telling ourselves is, life doesn't need to go that traditional route to find success. So I'm really excited for her. We've had a lot of talks about it, and I'm glad she finally felt brave enough to make the choice for herself. It's exciting. Super exciting.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And then you got one, Paige?
Yeah, so in our Telegram, our Misfit community app, and one of our Hatchet followers, her name is Caitlin Nolan. She posted a video in our Hatchet thread and showing her very first ring muscle up. And to see her excitement and her tears, and I think for those that got to see it, that are watching that video, can feel the energy behind it and the years of hard work that it took to get to that point. Yeah. So huge shout out to Caitlin. Just commitment to the process there. Love to see that.
Yeah. And the reason why this is such a cool thing is, again, this barrier to entry that we're looking for at Misfit Athletics is that level of give a shit. And I always talk about it, hey, and I know the same's for you, Paige, like in Telegram, email coach@misfitathletics.com, DMs, Misfit Athletics, Misfit Coach. Like if you follow our program and support what we do, I'm going to support you as an athlete above and beyond. And she's one of the people that takes advantage of that. She sends a lot of messages in Telegram. She emails me, and she just cares about getting better. She's in a PhD program right now. So obviously I don't know, but I can imagine how challenging it would be to train, as do as much dedicated training as she does and do a PhD program. So yeah, just the people that, cause I really do believe we write the best programming in the world. But it can't just happen to you, right? I can't like print it out and slap you in the face with it. And then you're like, wow, you guys are the best. It's like, no, you're the one putting in the work. You're the one doing the thing. So the people that accept that are, I think, the true misfits for sure.
Yeah. I think from, on the spectrum of just getting your first ring muscle up to someone like McKenna making a life change to go full time competing, like I'd say, they have the same mindset of, I'm going to meet you halfway, right? So just different, abilities and different levels of competition that we're at. Like if you guys, if you're willing to meet us halfway, we're willing to put in that work with you. And, we want to see you guys succeed. So it is cool to see the range of abilities we have in our program and that, you can have someone making semifinals to the games to someone getting their first ring muscle up. So
yep.
Definitely a testament to the programming too.
Training camp. We are going to be at CrossFit Roots in Boulder, Colorado. You can find the tickets in the link in bio on our Instagram. We're there January 30th to February 1st. Coaching staff, myself, Paige, Hunter, and Caroline, all-star staff. And we are like a couple weeks out from the open at that point and like 6 or 7 weeks out from quarterfinals prep. And as we've talked about on the podcast recently, phase 3 is going to be 6 weeks. And to be in a room with us and your fellow misfits, like finishing up your open prep and going into the open, and starting your quarterfinals prep, I don't think there is a better time for us to have a like serious influence on you as an athlete and your performance in quarterfinals. And the cool thing is it's either your Super Bowl or they've made it cost a lot with the way that you qualify for semifinals. So either way, a really, really great opportunity and hope to see a lot of you guys there. We are in week 2 of the Winjaru phase for Misfit Affiliate. This is the only phase of the year where we follow a true weekly 5x5 linear progression back squat. And as they get heavy, I want you guys to send some videos. So make sure you tag Misfit Athletics on Instagram or, send them over in Telegram or via email. Let us know how that's going. If you want 2 weeks for free of the Misfit affiliate programming, you can head to teammisfit.com. Click on sign up now, and your choice will be Sugar WOD, Stream Fit, or Push Press. And if you plan on signing up for the site, specifically, and you want to see what that PDF looks like and you want a 2-week free trial, email me, coach@misfitathletics.com, and I will send you a sample. We are in week 7 of phase 2 on our individual programming. You can find those at the link in bio, Strivey and Fitter. I want to know I know how people are doing via the Telegram group, but the progressions of the handstand push-ups, the pulling gymnastics, and the cleans are going to get a little spicy here as we push towards retest and we push towards primer week. So would love to know how you guys are doing on all of that stuff. All right, housekeeping is done. We have a new segment. This is in place of live chat. If you guys still want some live chat, if you guys want something different, let us know, but we'll probably try this out for a month or so and see what you guys think. And it is called Read, Listen, Watch, where we give you guys recommendations of things. I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to get some nerdy things in there, potentially get some fun things in there. I do see what kind of music you fucking guys damn it, I already said it. I was seeing what the swear counter would be without Hunter. And well, now at least it's only 1 and not 66 or whatever. And I think I might be able to help you guys out with your musical taste a little bit. I'm hoping. And maybe your movie taste too. Because listen, we don't need to We don't need to listen to Morgan Wallen and watch Fast and Furious. Those aren't the only things that you can do. All right.
Paul Walker, though.
I just want to broaden your horizons. I'm not saying don't listen to what you like. Just maybe we'll find something. So reading, I will put this in the show notes. Got a little study here. The effect of rhodiola rosea supplementation on endurance performance and related biomarkers. I thought this was cool because I think it tells us a little bit about what it takes to be a good endurance athlete and what it takes to be the kind of athlete that can recover. And it's not always, caffeine and jacking your heart rate up and doing all of that. If I'm going to lower my rate of perceived exertion and my time to exhaustion and how I feel, sometimes it's the opposite, right? Can I breathe and stay calm and stay under control when I'm doing this? And it's funny because I didn't think of this until after, but one of Gorilla Mind's products is Calm, which I believe has like theanine, ashwagandha, rhodiola, saffron. And again, the reason I begged them to sponsor the podcast is because we don't do gimmicky shit on misfitathletics.com, and they just put stuff that's scientifically backed into their products. And so basically, if I want to sort of skip to the end here, in conclusion, rhodiola rosea supplementation is an effective ergogenic aid for enhancing endurance performance and improving physiological biomarkers related to oxidative stress, muscle damage, and metabolic efficiency through heterogeneity, maybe, across studies warrants cautious interpretation. So this is a meta-analysis of them going back and looking at all of the data. And again, the mechanism here is more related to stress management and cortisol and sort of staying within yourself and not panicking during endurance work. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'll link to it so you guys can check it out. A few different ways that you can take that supplement. And I'm not even necessarily saying that that's something that you need to do. It's obviously something you can look into. But knowing that a calming effect on your nervous system is fantastic for recovery, but also can, for me personally, my bike scores on a slow Saturday morning compared to my bike scores in the evening as a business owner, dad, husband, etc., not the same. And, it's not like the way that the whole gas tank thing works that we talk about isn't just I'm depleting glycogen or whatever, just stress builds and kind of takes over your headspace, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a cool product. I'm excited to try the Gorilla Mind stuff. I actually ordered it during their Black Friday deal.
Yeah, those deals were pretty crazy.
Yeah, they were pretty wild. But I'm excited to try the protein, the intra workout stuff. So you had some good reviews on it.
For sure. All right, listen, one of the greatest, hear me, right now, I'm going to say this live, in person, country albums ever made. Meta Modern Sounds and Country Music by Sturgill Simpson. Listen to it. Listen to this record. I swear to God. This is because I grew up listening to a lot of different music, but something that kind of went across all generations in my family was Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, kind of outlaw country, they would call it. And this gentleman has that kind of sound, but I will warn you, the first song is a really good song. There are a lot of drug references. You can tell on some of the stuff he was singing, he was at a particular point in his life. But Metamodern Sounds and Country Music, I will share the link for Spotify. Incredible album. And last but not least, to lighten the mood a little bit, I was putting together, I haven't really done it completely yet. You guys can see some stuff going on in the background here, but I busted this bad boy out. This is Troy and Abed in the morning. Troy and Abed's fake morning show that they do on Community. I referred to my basement in my old house that I remodeled during COVID as the Dreamatorium, and season 3, episode 7 of Community is our introduction to the Dreamatorium. And you gotta comedy, but a little bit left of center, and definitely nerdy. There's a real nerd vibe going on there. But if you haven't watched Community, you should. And if you're only going to watch one episode, season 3, episode 7. All right, Paige, what you got for us?
Well, I think, so I don't really have anything for read right now, other than some boring marketing and sales education stuff. So it kind of ties into.
Is any of it good?
I mean, it's all about gym business. So a little bit of life chat. I ended up moving. I moved to New Jersey. I'm at a new CrossFit, well, not a CrossFit gym. I'm at a new gym called Great White Conditioning and Fitness. They're in Hackensack, New Jersey. So it's like 2 hours from home, but developed some good relationships here with some friends. They own the gym, and I've been at CrossFit Vertex for 10 years, 11 years, and I was ready for some change. So, but moving here, like part of my role is, helping on the business side, bring in members, grow the business essentially. We're working with a consulting group, and it's just a lot of education on the back end side of business. So it's a lot of new for me. So some people I'm sure find that interesting, but it's a consulting business or a company. So I can't really share their stuff. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But, I'm excited to learn. It's a new challenge, and it's, I'm enjoying it so far. I'll say that.
All right. Homework for next week. You owe us a snippet. You tell us something you learned that was cool.
All right.
Because there's definitely a lot of people listening to the show that would benefit from something like that.
Okay. Deal.
Yep.
I could do that. So listen, I'll go with, I have a podcast, but it's like a cinema podcast. It's actually something that traveling back and forth from Jersey to PA, pop it on and I'm easy drive 2 hours and I'm there. It's called Baraska. It's by a company called Q Code. It's, a few episodes long, but it really does, if you can use your imagination, you can really kind of create a movie in your head with a podcast like this. So there's different characters. So you hear different voices, there's dialogue. So it's pretty neat. So I'd recommend, for anyone that has long travel.
So is it like episodic?
Yeah.
Like short form? Like does it like one episode connect to the next episode?
Yep.
Or are they standalone?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of like a TV series, I would say.
Yeah.
Podcast form. So it's pretty neat. So I shared the link there. And then, I'm a little probably boring right now. Again, a lot of change going on at my end. So I haven't been doing a whole ton of stuff outside of work and moving. But I'm going to say Stranger Things season 5. I mean, I'm sure most people have watched it by now, but
I'm only like 2.5, 3 episodes in, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 4 in this one. So yeah, I think the next group of episodes comes out next week, Christmas week, maybe.
Yep, that's true. I think it's Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, cool. All right, so 2000 crazy year. Honestly, crazy year for so many reasons. But one of the reasons it was a crazy year for both of us is because, correct me if I'm missing anything, we went Open, Mayhem, online semifinal, UFP 1. Now, those were very close together. Just put that out there. We had a shoulder injury and an injection in the middle of all of that. We made the very tough decision, interested in your hindsight on this, to skip Syndicate. BFP 2, Rogue in Scotland, and then we'll talk a little bit about skipping the finals in Copenhagen for WFP 3. When you hear all of that, what are the things that come to mind related to that list specifically?
I mean, we knew it was going to be a lot. I think I underestimated the amount of stress that it was going to put on me, especially dealing with an injury through basically the bulk of it, right? Open, Mayhem, online semifinals, World Fitness Project 1, all of those I was, in the right headspace. Injury was really, really, bogging me down. So a lot of stress that I wouldn't say I managed or coped very well with.
I think the stretch of Mayhem online semifinals, World Fitness Project 1, and honestly even skipping Syndicate, because again, there's not doing something has an effect, a stressful effect and a cost related to it, right? Because there's a version of you that looks at that list and just circles Syndicate, a past version of you that does that. And that's the one thing. It's almost like telling in a way, like a symbolic thing that it says that. I believe that recovering from that run was really a very serious challenge. And I was really happy about the pre-prep for essentially what we did after WFP1 before we started prep for WFP2. We found this rhythm of this baseline setting that we could do that I've definitely done with athletes before in different situations, but we were able to really zero in on stuff. And then we started prep. And I believe that a very good version of you showed up at WFP2. Now, I'm not going to politicize any of this shit because I don't do that. It's not what we do on the podcast. It's not what we do on the show. But when you look back at some of the programming, someone your size crushing WFP2 was probably not in the cards.
Yeah, agreed.
And by crushing, I mean, you being up there with the athletes that you're used to being up there with. A lot of machines, I guess we can just leave it at that. But when you look at those things, that's one of those, and I'll play devil's advocate, we need to prepare you for those situations because you had a very good showing at Syndicate the previous year, and that was a big athlete program for sure, like 100%. But it is what it is, and you're competing against who you're competing against. And there are moments when it still pays to be, have faster rep speed in certain things and shorter range of motion, and you punched your ticket to go to the CrossFit Games. So I don't believe in pointing the finger somewhere else when it comes to programming, just because unknown and unknowable, there are going to be years where it's going to pay to be this size and years where it's going to pay to be this size. And there's, kind of an online narrative right now about the rise of the machines. And I think that we could definitely do a full episode on that for sure. And we could talk about how maybe they're a little bit better for training than they are for testing in the CrossFit space, but a lot of that's fairly subjective. Skip Syndicate specifically. How do you feel about that? What's the hindsight on that? Because it was very much the right decision. I don't think either of us would be able to revisionist history that and go, well.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you get to a point where after World Fitness Project 1, you have the week to recover, you're taking time off, the email pops in, hey, you're invited. You start thinking about the FOMO you're going to feel when you don't go. But I knew I had to prioritize not just my injury, but my headspace. I knew not going and dealing with, feeling, the fear of missing out, FOMO, all that stuff. I knew all of that was way easier to deal with than managing the stress if I were to compete. It's night and day different of dealing with being left out and not going versus the stress of needing to eat enough, recover enough, sleep enough. Just the prep wasn't there for it. I mean, it was managing prep around my shoulder, around trying to build volume back up, around trying to get my confidence back up, to fit all of that in such a small window of time, just a couple months. Maybe for somebody it's doable, but for me it wasn't.
Right.
And maybe there's a different approach to take. So, it's something obviously we're going to look back on this year and be like, okay, so what are the changes we need to make? So, yeah, I mean, definitely the right choice not to go and give myself that kind of leadway into World Fitness Project 2.
Yeah. Rogue is an interesting one because I think it did a bunch of different things. You got really sick after WFP2, and the way that I have theorized about that, and maybe even currently, if you guys can hear, Paige sounds maybe a little under the weather, is the micro version of it. The connection to it would be I'll have a remote client come visit for the first time and show off a little bit and bury themselves. Some of the greatest performances I have ever seen in my life were at Misfit Gym Portland during open gym, with someone being like, watch this, because they have the motivation to push and maybe not the pressure of a couple thousand people watching them. And if I don't do this, then I don't make it. So you don't really have to pull back. And then everyone has the flu 3 days later.
Multiple occasions I have done that.
Your week was almost a year. That's how because you can't, unless you end up finding something out medically, you just thinking about how someone that's as healthy as you could be as sick as long as you are is a head scratcher for sure. But you can also go places and bury yourself more than other people can, and can kind of delay. That's one thing that's, again, you can do a micro version of it where someone is like, looks completely fine and is like talking to you during a workout. And then the second it ends, they're dead. They're like collapsed. They're like on the rower and they're pulling and they're talking to you like, nah, man, I don't think I can hold 1350, but it's still, coherent. And then after, they're like slobbering and have to take their shoes off. Everyone else gets to take their shoes off. I've never had that. And yeah, it's just, it's crazy to watch the way that you guys can maybe turn that part of your brain off for either the period of time of a workout or just continually going back to the well. So once you were doing better and it was time to train was when we were discussing whether you were going to do Rogue and the UFP, which is just like, I'm careful in those situations for multiple reasons, because if an athlete makes a decision that I don't necessarily agree with and I'm in their corner, once the decision is made and cemented, I am all in on that. So I try to help guide and I drop hints and things of that nature, but I don't always come out and say, I really don't want you to do both of these things. It's like, what are you thinking? Yeah. And then my fingers are crossed under the chair and you're like, I don't think I can do both. And I'm like, fucking right. Oops. I swore again.
We may have agreed on that, but I don't think we agreed on which one I should do.
Well, to me, I'm thinking about it in a lot of ways from like a programming perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
prep.
You can do Rogue, but we're not going to be ready.
Yeah.
And not only was that the case, it was like, okay, here we go again, like a 3-week peaking phase, which is like kind of a joke. It's not actually a joke, but it's kind of a joke. And then you just came to me and said, I don't even want to do that. Like, I don't have it in me to do another prep. And that's kind of how I know that both of these it's not the right call to do both of these things. Yeah. And I'll let you speak to maybe what Rogue means to you, because I think that had a lot to do with which
100%. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're following the sport, you guys, you know just how premier of a competition it is to go to Rogue. And they have their own separate leaderboard to be able to qualify, to gain points and things like that. And for me, like, always know that there's going to be an expiration date on when the competitive CrossFit ends. I don't know when that is. I don't plan on, stopping right now. But I think the decision also, I think part of my mindset was there of like, I'm not going to get to compete at Rogue forever. It's a competition that, the best of the best go to. It's an honor to get an invite there. My first invite was kind of a backfill. So, I was grateful enough to get to go, like last minute kind of surprise. And then I followed with 2 years of getting to actually compete there. So, it's just one of those that time is limited and your years are limited on going to it. And I didn't want to miss out, So it definitely played a big part of it. But I mean, we had so many good takeaways going that, I think in the end, like, leaderboard wise, not a good showing for me at all. And, I could say that probably about my entire year, but it's been continuing to help me make the decisions that I need to make to go into the next year and to move forward, even just in my life and career outside of CrossFit.
Yeah, and you talk a little bit about your headspace after the first couple events, and then your headspace by the end of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, there were events that I was confident in. I was looking forward to the muscle ups on the log. Like, these are all things that I had no issues with in years past and actually excelled really well and thrived on those. I was confident getting back to the horizontal pegboard this year. But, when the event came and when it was done, was in the warm-up area cooling down. And I'm like, I just figured it out too late in the event to put up a good score. Yeah. Like, like it was just like I am minutes behind where I wanted to be and where we expected to be. And I'm just figuring out my log muscle ups and I'm just figuring out my rhythm again on the horizontal pegboard. So like I would come back and I was just pissed off and really disappointed in myself. And gosh, we took a walk outside in the freezing cold in the rain and I'm just crying and like, the beginning of the weekend and probably throughout the middle of it, I was like, I don't belong here, which sucks. It's a lot to handle. But by the end of it, spending a lot of time with you, talking through those moments and through those lows, and, spending other time kind of talking with Alexis and other friends there. I came out on the other side feeling excited about next year, which by, I'd say, in November and December in years past, I hadn't felt that way. I was more of like, What am I doing next year? Am I going to compete? Am I not? So to have that idea in my head already of like, yeah, I'm going to do this again next year, and I feel good about it and I feel excited about it, that's different and that's new. And that's something that I've been kind of hanging on to right now that has, kind of been pulling me forward even while I'm sick. So for anybody, like I was sick in August, and then I've been sick for the last 3 weeks. I got bronchitis. Yesterday was the first day I actually did any sort of working out. It's been kind of a roller coaster and a lot of stress managing that while moving. It kind of all ties into one another, and kind of makes sense. But now that I'm here and I can get adjusted, it's like, all right, let's get settled and let's find a routine.
The connection that I like to give people here is related to narratives and actually being yourself, being authentic to yourself. So the big macro ones are Paige told herself a story and was able to actualize it. Now, when that's a negative, it sucks. When you tell yourself something about yourself and the world and all of these different things, there's a really good chance you're going to be able to make it happen, unless it's like not possible. So the opposite would be, dealt with this maybe more on the male side of coaching, where it's like, I haven't put the work in, but dude, watch this. Like, it's like, well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But if it's possible, even on the negative side, you can really spin this stuff up. And the in-workout specific connection that I want to make is the pegboard. So Paige was trying to figure out the pegboard, especially on the mental end. It was all connected. It was all, do I belong here? What are the, let's check out the whole patterns of what other people are doing. How should I do this? How should I do this? And you are, when people get to watch you in the duel, like you're an athlete. You go do things. And I resonate with that so much. Especially baseball, this is like absurdly mental sport. And any time I was trying to figure something out on the mound or in the batter's box, sayonara. Anytime I was mad or excited or in the moment, I was able to express the work that I had put in. I started pushing you to go up on the pegboard a little bit quicker because we were reaching, earmuffs, children in the kitchen, fuck it mode. At that point, you might as well just go for it. And then you're like, you just went and did, you were you.
Yeah.
You were able to express yourself. And that work that you've put in is physical, it's mental, it's all there. And then as we shifted through the weekend, we started building a different narrative. And we had different body language. And yeah, you took somewhere between, 15th to 17th on that final workout. But for you to go out there, what's the workout again?
The echo bike.
The final?
Sandbag, echo bike, sandbag.
Yeah, what's the calories?
I think it was
Do you remember?
50?
Was it 50 sandbag carry 50? Or was it just 50 sandbag carry?
I don't
remember
sandbag
what it was.
Carry 50, sandbag carry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not in the right headspace in a workout like that, you're taking 21st out of 20.
You're gonna dog the bike.
Right? Exactly. And we were. It was like, listen, the only thing here is you have to try the entire time. The voices aren't allowed in. It's the last workout. It's pretty short. They're just not allowed in there. And you had moments where you're kind of competing a little bit with other people on the sandbag, and it was like, there she is. We are not physically in the place where we normally are at a competition of this level, but we got back to a place mentally where it's like, you're an athlete, you're a competitor, you know what it takes to get back to the place physically. Just get your ass in the gym and work really hard 5.5 days a week, right? Like rinse and repeat. So you know how to do that part. And it was really cool to see that transformation over the course of the weekend. I think that was incredibly important. Because you almost need to have those weekends where you create the wrong narrative and see how powerful in the wrong direction something like that can be.
Yeah.
Those mind viruses are crazy. At that level, 1%, 2%, 3% lower than what you can be is how you plummet on the leaderboard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think creating that kind of narrative started from earlier in the year. It started from February, and it just kind of kept evolving into something worse. And I spending as much time on my own because like I was going through the injury, and one of my coping mechanisms is to just kind of back off and be in my own head. And, you don't realize what you're doing to yourself until someone kind of pulls you out of that. And I think Rogue is kind of that point for me. I didn't train a ton with McKenna this year, and that's a big part of it too. Like, we just didn't have that camaraderie together. We didn't have that relationship that pushes us. Her, knock on wood, her injury, like her ankle recovery has been phenomenal. For her, it's more of getting back into her headspace as well. So like, we're kind of dealing with similar things in different ways. But I don't know what the right thing is either, right? Like, do you lean on each other more, even though you are both kind of going through it? Like, do you have more of like, do you have the capacity to have somebody lean on you when you also need to lean on somebody? Does that make sense? Like,
sure.
I think that's part of it too, of like, I don't know if I have the capacity to do that. I do feel like I thrive when somebody's going through adversity and I can help them push through and help them find the right things to focus on. So, but again, hindsight, at this point right now, having moved and now being away from McKenna and being 2 hours away, like, we had a nice long conversation of like, we still want to put the effort in to spend time together and to get in the gym together and to make sure that we keep our friendship a priority. Because
she
again,
saved 2 of her deload days for her trip to come see you.
Yeah, well, we do have some fun things planned. New York City is only 40 minutes away. So yeah. Cool. But, that's part of it too, filling our cup in different ways. But once I get some training back under my belt, I'll feel a little more comfortable burying myself with her again.
Yes. Yep. So obviously related to all of this is skipping the finals for WFP. And I got a lot of texts and DMs when you were in the spotlight for the like, she's injured, and then you're like, no, I'm not. and like, you didn't make a big deal out of it, but you were asked a question and you were honest. And for better or worse, that slots you right into the Misfit crew, right? We're people of substance, even if it means our bank account is more empty. And I mean, how do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah,
do you want to talk about the decision not to do it, and then maybe how you felt when that was happening? Yeah,
I mean, I'm totally fine being open with it. I have no issues, being transparent. So yeah, I mean, I think again, my performances in Tour 1 and Tour 2 were like pretty shitty. I'm just going to say that pretty flat out. I wasn't sitting in a good spot on the leaderboard. The reality of gaining my pro card in a field like that, I think would have just taken more prep than what we had time for, and what I could have put in, and where my headspace was as far as like the willingness to put that work in for something that I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to get my pro card next year. Maybe that's, not a great mindset, but it's more of looking at it in a realistic way. The field there is incredibly talented. You're against games athletes. It's not, it's nothing to joke around about. So just the way I was recovering this year, I just didn't feel like I had it in me to be able to put in a good prep. And in reality, I also don't think I would do World Fitness Project again next year, even if I got my pro card. So that's something we also, talked about at Rogue of, I want to focus on one season, and that's going to be the CrossFit Games season. And it's just where I like the flow of it. I like, kind of how the season gets incrementally harder as you go. And you can just really kind of zero in on a couple targets, like a couple small targets into one big target, So it's what we know best. It's what we've trained for, the past 10 years. It's what we've programmed for the past 10 years. It's like, I just want to stick with that one strength and right. Really dial in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So circling back to the beginning, I think there are a lot of people who are like, hindsight is 2020, and I don't know that this was the right call, and I don't know that this is the right direction for athletes in this sport. I don't know that would almost be unfair for us to say, because we kind of knew. Like, we didn't know to the extent, but there was just this element of like, I've made every right decision for a lot of years related to this stuff and have missed out on a lot of experience. It's not just opportunities, whether it be financial exposure, whatever. It's also life experiences, right? You know, I mean, Instagram is the rosy version of it, but you get to see other athletes traveling the world and doing all these different competitions and all this stuff. And if you're going to get invited to those things, you have to, again, have more exposure, but then you have to accept and sort of lean into that. And that was a decision that we made together in the spring. And man, that's like what life is. You fuck around, you find out, you do different things, you see what works for you, you see what doesn't work for you. And that's how you learn things, right? Go, you know, you think the grass is greener, hop the fence, right? I mean, you're hopping back, but you know, that, you know, those big decisions that you make, I mean, I'm in Colorado right now and you're in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Like we're making these decisions, we're living our lives and figuring things out as opposed to keeping it safe all the time. But like, I know for me, I've been doing this long enough that I know exactly how to get someone to the CrossFit Games, and I can't do it for them. I also can't change their athletic history or their genetics, things of that nature. But if someone is capable of making the CrossFit Games and they buy in to what I want them to do for the timeline that we talk through, I just don't see a situation where they don't qualify. I really don't. But it's not boring. I mean, you can talk to it more. I've never experienced the actual prep for it, but you follow a structure over the course of an off season and you do 1 to 2 really nasty competition preps, and like they tell you the movements, they tell you the time domains. You know, if you read the tea leaves, if you pay attention to what's going on, you can really find out what you need to be able to execute on, and that's how you do it. And we interfered with it on a level that I 2 years ago never would have been able to fathom. If you had said to me, I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, if I want to do 6 or 7 high level competitions, not in like, and the games would have been 8.
Yeah.
And that prep would have been crazy. Like, I would have been like, I don't know what to do. So like, there couldn't have been more interference in how that played out this year. But I think it brings up a really interesting question about if there is an actual sweet spot here. So you've had years where, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, it's been basically just the game season. Yeah. Like open, quarterfinals, semifinals, CrossFit Games, rinse and repeat. There are years where you've had Wodapalooza, Rogue, a few different things. So you've had iterations where you've done 0. You've had iterations where you've done 1 or 2. Do you think there's a sweet spot? And obviously it's person to person, but like, how do you think about that now? How would you think about that in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, following the game season from open to games and doing something like a Wodapalooza or a Rogue or a Dubai, I think was my sweet spot. I think even, you know, you could say Rogue and Wodapalooza in the same year, having them be, you know, months apart, and doing team of 3 at Wodapalooza where you take some of that pressure off, you have some fun, is kind of I think, one of the best ways that I think kind of led into a new season. I think doing Wodapalooza with McKenna and Jenna, you know, Michelotti, 2 years ago, 2024, I believe, was the best way to bring in the new season, or 2023, I think it was, into 2024.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously your mindset and what you're accepting as far as the season goes, because like you can look at someone like Annika Greer, Fisagafi, who those guys did everything, right? They did the Open, Mayhem, online semifinal, you know, one or the other there, and then World Fitness Projects all the way through in the games, and they've both had success and great seasons. So it's hard to say.
Where they didn't look like themselves, though.
Yeah,
I
for
don't think
sure.
that they would be, mad at me.
You also have to remember that the previous year didn't make the games, right? So they're still having those off seasons where they're building and not having to recover from that previous games season. So there are, a couple of nuances like that you can say are up for argument. What will this upcoming year look like for them? I think can be a better indicator of the sweet spot. But I think for me, it's that something like Rogue and or a Wadapalooza leading into the new season and just following the game season from there is like the sweet spot for me.
So you did Rogue and you're going team with McKenna at Fittest of the Coast.
Yeah, so we're going to do partner style there.
And that's an interesting way to look at it. So if you want to do two, maybe only one of them should be like, we're doing this
serious
individually.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like, you're able to go to some dark places and maybe hurt yourself a little bit more than you were ready for. But like, that is a morale booster. That's a motivating thing that gets you excited to compete again, going team at that point. So yeah, I've tried to learn from it. I tried to prepare myself for the potential of it happening again. Honestly, I'm at a point in my career where if it was like, I want you to coach me and these are my goals and I want to do these 6 or 7 competitions, it's just like, I think you need to change that or get a new coach. Because it's a lot of work. Obviously the coaches, one thing that doesn't get talked about a ton, spend a crazy amount of money, flying all around the world doing these things. And it's great for your brand. It's great to get more subscribers and whatnot, but it is a lot on both sides. And it's just not going to put your athletes in the position to succeed in the way that you would want to. And I've looked at some of the leaderboards and again, tried to make sense of who goes where, who goes in what direction. And it seems to be, and this isn't that surprising, and someone might have data to say this isn't true, but your more powerful athletes seem to be struggling more than the more, slow twitch muscle fiber endurance type athletes. I think there's definitely a connection there to like those people end up doing better in, as you drag it out, as you go through. And I think one of my prime examples is just seeing the scores that Adler put up during that online semifinal. And then he looked like the fittest person or pretty damn close to the fittest person at WFP 1, and then did not look that way again for the rest of the year. And you really have no way of knowing all of the inside details of all that stuff. Were there injuries? Did he change the way that he trained? Obviously, he's not like the poster child for like doing TikToks and stuff like that. So we're not getting like the most inside look at what's going on there. But for him to express the level of fitness that he did early in the year and then not be able to continue to do that. And then again, looking at some of the women, obviously I'm a little bit more connected to that side with the athletes that I coach, but like there's just, to me, when I'm looking at this leaderboard, it's very interesting to see the people who are where they are, both based on their size and again, whether they're considered more of a powerful athlete or not. So a larger, taller endurance athlete seems to do better with this type of volume. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how all of this shakes out, like what it is moving forward. And that's more just me as a coach and as a sport or as a fan of the sport, wondering like, I think the WFP could be an amazing like minor leagues, like, that the idea of the challenger division, but I don't think with like the level of, money and work that they put into that thing and how you have to kind of travel all over the place, that's what they want it to be.
Right.
But I do like the idea of if there was another season that felt like who's next in the sport, I think that would be really cool. But I don't know that the two can coexist. It reminds me so much of like, I know nothing about golf, but it reminds me so much of PGA and Live. Like it almost seems to be like exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's the money, here's the kind of shiny thing over here. And just, you can't fault people for saying yes to that.
Right.
Like, in that instance, it's life-changing money, but I don't know, it's kind of in a short-term way, it's life-changing money to do WFP and feel that sense of financial security. So I don't think that they can coexist and both thrive and flourish. I really don't.
Yeah. I think especially for a lot of our followers who are maybe lower level competitive, trying to get to semifinals, like you got to put your eggs in one of the baskets. I don't think, as somebody who's trying to kind of build that volume and build that experience of, wanting to compete at that level, like picking World Fitness Project or picking the CrossFit Games season to focus on, that you can have a consistent kind of peak into the season. Like, I think that would probably be like the sweet spot for somebody trying to kind of, come up in the sport, or those that are kind of those bubble athletes. I think doing both is just it's a lot of volume, it's a lot of stress to handle, and there's obviously people can do it, but you really have to have a delicate approach to it.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that we found that you can peak twice in a year. And what you're peaking for and how you do it is very much connected and related to one another. So peaking for quarterfinals is nowhere near the same as trying to peak for semifinals, which is nowhere near the same as trying to peak for the CrossFit Games. And you can peak for one competition that is not your highest level of competition. So for someone like you, that would be peaking for semifinals, knowing that like we're going to leave a little bit off here to then be able to go do it again. A lot of athletes will be peaking for quarterfinals, knowing that they're doing the same thing, saving a little bit for that semifinals peak. Because this year, a lot of athletes, whether they get to compete in person or online, are going to be able to see how they stack up in that whole ecosystem, which I think is really cool. And we're going to be able to take, this is a little bit of careful what you wish for here. I'll be interested to maybe interview some people who do their first semifinals peaking phase this year for online semifinals. They're like, well, I think I'm going back to Bob and Tom's backyard throwdown. Because again, like it's you think it's what you want, and then you're like, I am unwell. Like, a lot during that period of time. So it's a little bit of careful what you wish for. And then again, like we're about to do 6 weeks into the open, and you've created that threshold. You're going through the door that first day of phase 3, and you're very much knowing that if I want to leave a mark on the open, I need to fine tune my habits, my strategies, my warm-ups, my cool downs, all of that. But I'm going to get through this, and my eye, like I'm really circled on that quarterfinals prep, like getting into that. So I think you can do, that first peak is just your kind of that secondary level of competition, still incredibly important, still have to create momentum, still have to build the narrative that you are who you say you are. Because I've seen athletes back off from that secondary level of competition and they do okay, but it creates the wrong headspace for their Super Bowl. So I think those things actually go really well together, and maybe there's a method to the madness of peaking twice, just to maybe mentally prepare yourself, versus I just have this one event this year. Like that would be weird. That would also be hard. That would be a totally different thing where it's like, okay, you somehow, like back in the day, pre-qualify for the CrossFit Games, and we have 40 weeks of off season, and then we prep, right? Like that also could you might feel rusty in competing and prepping and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a ride. I think we, again, both learned a ton from it. I really like the idea of and for some athletes, like, I mean, Fraser was no off-season comps, right? For the most part.
I think he did it one year because of the new format, right? He did Dubai 1 year and he smashed it.
Right. Like he did them when he was younger.
Yeah.
Those were the best. He would get like a 3-minute lead in the workout and take a knee because he was at like 208 beats per minute, and he would just look around, and then Noah Olson would stroll up, to the previous movement and be like, all right, I guess I got to go again. So crazy to watch. Yeah. So like we're kind of nearing the end of the episode here. What has come up for you in this episode? Like, are there any new thoughts related to this stuff? Is it more just like you're ready for the next year? Where are you at related to this conversation?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm taking a lot of experience that I didn't want from this year, right? Like bad performances, bad headspace, things like that. Like these aren't things that I wanted, and these are things that I got this year. So I'm taking those forward and, maybe call it a goldfish memory of, I'm going to start this season reminding myself that I've been a 6-time CrossFit Games athlete, and I have it in me to do that. And I still have that level of drive. And I think just kind of taking the pressure off this year. I think from the Open through Rogue, it was just like I added another layer of pressure that just I don't think was necessary internally. And I think that's, part of being such a high level athlete and wanting to have such high expectations. Yeah, I mean, I think as humans, failing and learning from mistakes and, negative experiences build us more, help us grow more. So I want to go into, these next few weeks and this next year kind of with that mindset.
Growth is painful and we learn it personally. First and foremost, in my new office, there's an Echo bike that I just bought. That's right there. I'm not going to tell you guys my first altitude RPMs from my workout. I will not. Maybe after I improve it, I'll show the spreadsheet. But growth is painful, and no one knows that more than the people listening to this podcast. Even the fun stuff, the back squats. How much does it burn to stand up the 12th rep in set 3 of your 3x12? How much does it burn to do your farmer's carries? And then obviously the CrossFit and the monostructural conditioning and all of this stuff. It's so painful, but it's so second nature because we know what the result is on the other side of that thing. And I mean, I'm personally I'm working from home now. I mean, there's like a little pool house and a rental off to the side. So I get to walk 10 feet to my office every day. But when we build our new house, my office is going to be in the garage gym, which is going to be sick, by the way. But I don't know if I like it, but I also know again that the growth is discomfort, which is how I end up in the place that I want to be. I mean, you're in a situation right now where I'm sending you 3 meeting invites a week and you've got deadlines, you've got all of this new stuff. You're working with a consultant group on sales and marketing things. And at first, you create the narrative of maybe this isn't fun or I don't like it. But then you remember again that if you're going to grow, this is literally exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
It's just different when you're not in the gym. And if you apply the okay, what did I learn? What could I do a tiny bit better the next time? Could I arrive with a certain headspace, whatever it is? Those are the lessons that I learn in the gym that then honestly dictate who I am outside of the gym in life. And the reason why I continue to do this and will continue to do this because it's almost bigger than that. And it's the same thing related to, flying all over the damn country and flying over to Scotland and a lot of jet lag and a lot of vitamin C pills. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You end up coming out the other side with a level of perspective that you could not have had otherwise. And I would even push back a little bit on the goldfish mentality part of we will eventually look back on all of this and be
sure.
Wow, that was we learned so much from this.
Yeah.
Because I know that I did. And while I was trying to figure out the best possible way to program for you throughout all of this, part of what I learned was as a coach, there is a boundary related to this. And I've lost multiple athletes already in my career based on that. And I mourn the personal relationship, I would say, more than anything, but I don't regret it.
Yeah.
I don't regret those decisions of being I am going to change the way that I coach and the standard of my coaching and my ability to help another person because the public says so-and-so follows my program, therefore I get 10 more subscribers or something like that. I just know that I can't live with that version of myself. I've tried to be the everything must be bigger and better all of the time business owner, and it just isn't me. But you can't figure out any of that stuff without, again, hopping over the fence and living on the other side and then being I don't like this grass. It's actually not green. I'm going back to the other side.
Yeah, I think just kind of one last thing to add to that. It was also me taking ownership of my situations. There were, in personal life and whatever, there's There's times where I was very unhappy, and I can tell I'm just kind of like spinning the wheel a little bit. So it was taking ownership of those things and accepting that, like, you know, I am going to change things and it's time. Like, my nervous system is telling me that I need to make a change. And for me, there are a lot of big changes recently. And I think buffering that with the right mindset of like, yeah, I'm adding a lot of new things that are huge adjustments for me, adding meetings, adding more computer time, screen time, things like that. But my accepting that, and again, the right mindset of like, this is good for me, this is challenging me, it's been kind of a game changer lately of like, I know I'm adding, you know, more time than I've ever probably spent on my computer, even in college now. So it's helping me like find some enjoyment in that, and just reminding myself that the challenge is good and this is for my future. So, you know, it's kind of that natural transition for me of like, I'm getting older, you know, again, competing will have an expiration date. It's not right now, but you know, I need to start having that transition like ready to go.
Right.
For when it comes, I need to feel comfortable with what I'm moving into next, feel ready.
Yeah, for sure. Final thoughts for me, 2025. Whoa. Personal life, professional life, the whole deal. It was a wild ride, and maybe we can end the year with a little bit more of, you know, people make fun of the like end of the year recap and New Year's resolutions. I like it. I like a turning of the page. I like again a narrative to build around, you know, getting excited for certain things. And open prep will start on January 5th, which is cool. So we kind of get that like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Starting this thing over again, that sort of deal, which is cool.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the changes, honestly, for like our whole Misfit team, really, we kind of get that fresh start a little bit before the new year, which I think helps us kind of get that momentum rolling. And again, continue to deliver programming that, you know, our community enjoys and that it challenges them. So I think a lot of the change that's happening right now has been quick, but is going to be really, really positive in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. Did we do it?
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Misfit podcast. If you would like to support the podcast in a direct way, head to gorillamind.com. Use the code word Misfit. Yeah, I'm just going to keep showing you guys this because this is kind of helping me with the chaos in my life currently. And then soon enough, I'll talk to you a little bit more about the amazing fish oil or Gorilla Mind Calm when I calm down, if that ever happens. If you're looking for affiliate programming, head to teammisfit.com, click on the sign up now button. You get 2 weeks for free at any of our program partners, or if you want to sign up for the site, there's no free trial there, but you can email me, coach@misfitathletics.com, and I will send you that free sample. You can also head to the link in bio on our Instagram for training camp at CrossFit Roots, Boulder, Colorado, January 30th to February 1st. Great open prep and quarterfinals prep style camp. And then if you're looking for our programming, if you've made it this far and you're not following our programming, you're nuts. Strivey, Fitter, get on there, join the Telegram group. See you guys next week.
We're all misfits.
All right, you ragtag bunch of misfits.
You're a scrappy little misfit, just like me.
Biggest bunch of misfits I ever set eyes on.